It took my breath away, and I was in great shock and disbelief.
Immediately we knew something was wrong.
Yeah, it was just scary, not knowing like if my sister was gonna be okay.
Erica was your typical little girl. She was the youngest of 3 children, and she found her groove with gymnastics.
She's 7 years younger than me, so she was always like my kid sister. Growing up, she's very athletic.
Everywhere she would turn into a balance beam or to a floor mat, and she would be practicing all her routines.
I was at a gymnastics practice. I was running and I actually broke my leg. So obviously legs don't really break just by running, so immediately we knew something was wrong. And from there, the diagnosis came.
We were still at our local hospital when they gave us the news that she had some kind of bone cancer. And I thought to myself, well, we're going to sick kids now, and they're going to tell me that that's wrong. She doesn't have cancer. Then when we went to sick kids, the diagnosis was confirmed that she had osteosarcoma.
First option was to just have my leg amputated right just a few inches below my hip. The other option that I had was to save my leg through a limb salvage surgery. To me, it didn't seem like a good choice just because the breaking of the leg made the tumor spread a little bit throughout my leg. So it made most sense for me to do the rotation plasty surgery.
So the bear has had a tumor in his knee, around the knee here, so we've taken out a portion of the limb, used the good portion down here, and turned it around to fix to the upper thigh. So now this lower leg is the thigh, and the ankle is the knee. And so now the bear wears an artificial leg like this, as you can see.
It was very impactful for me as a mother to watch Erica go through what she did. And I always thought to myself, if only I can take it away from Erica. If only it could be me going through this.
I was 12 years old. A lot of people my age did not really understand what I was going through. Just really had to focus on myself and my own goals and just kind of lean on my family.
Me and my sister are super close now. Like her being sick in the hospital, we would go visit really like often. Now she's my best friend.
It was difficult, but we all managed well because we all worked together.
So one day I was at a prosthetic clinic and I ran into my friend Phil, and he was with his coach, Mary Ellery, as he was a kayak athlete. And when I met Mary, she was really welcoming and wanted me to come out to the club and try out. Once I got into the boat, I just felt right at home. From that then forward, I was kind of hooked.
When she started doing it, it's almost like she had this natural talent, this natural instinct, and kayaking seemed to come so naturally because she was just so good at it so quickly.
What stands out about Erica is really her determination, how quickly she's risen in her sport. Normally our sport, it takes about 8 to 10 years to reach the highest level, and she's been able to do that in 3 to 4, which is pretty incredible.
My support team at Sick Kids, they always knew that I was an athlete beforehand, and they always knew that that was something that I wanted to keep in my future. So it's something that we often talked about and ways that I could rejoin sport. They nominated me to carry the Paralympic torch and represent Sick Kids. So it was like turning a new leaf and seeing that sport can exist in a different way.
I was extremely happy to see that Erica found something that she loved, and she found something that she could do, and she could do well.
She's only been in it 4 years and was 7th in Rio at the Paralympics.
It was a dream of mine ever since I lost my leg. To have this actually come true and head down to Rio was really amazing.
Like, you never think that someone from your family is gonna come seventh.
And she was able to showcase it in front of the world that I can still do this.
He has to deal with other avenues that most kids probably will never have to deal with in their life.
He is the one motivating us and reminding us that, okay, if he's still doing all of these things, we have to keep sort of churning in our brains and thinking of new things to try that we haven't tried yet so that we can help him get to where he wants to go.
He and I used to play a lot of one-on-one basketball, actually, hoops, and so we used to play at least one game a day. So he was very active. And one night he had very, very severe pain in his leg.
We were actually playing baseball one day, and he felt some pain, additional pain, after a couple of nights after that one night. And that was the last string where he couldn't take it anymore.
I woke up from sleep and I couldn't straighten out my leg anymore. There was a bump that I had right under my right knee, and I had assumed it was just something that I got hurt in, probably playing hockey or baseball or something. The tumor on the bone was determined to be osteosarcoma. From then, I was sort of catapulted into the care of sick kids.
Rayhan had a slightly different location of tumor. So instead of being in the lower thigh bone, it was in the upper shin bone. That's actually a little bit harder to recover from with regard to rotationplasty. But he again was presented with a choice where we could reconstruct the limb with a large metal implant or rotationplasty, and despite the additional challenge of it being in this location, elected to go for that.
I use sports as my measuring stick. Which surgery am I going to pick to play hockey? Which one will allow me to play baseball? And which one will allow me to just play any sport that I want to? And the best option for that was rotationplasty, since I saw that it was me that was going to be putting the limits on myself and not the surgery that I chose.
I very distinctly remember meeting Rayhan during one of my first days here in the department, because I was still being trained by the physiotherapist who I was going to be replacing, and I remember her saying to me that I was going to be meeting Rayhan today and that he has such a lovely personality and that I was going to get along very well with him.
When I started working with her, I just felt a sort of comfort that I hadn't felt with everybody else that I worked with there, and I've been able to work with her and sort of truly start making the big types of progress that I want to in my life.
So Rayhan came to me a few years ago and he said, I want to learn how to ice skate. I never skated as a kid. Do you think that it's possible? And I said, of course.
I mean, I'm a hockey fan, and that's something that I had to do.
Every few weeks he would either come in and show me a new video of him working on his ice skating. I'll never forget this image of him sort of skating on the ice with one of those little kiddie stands and then pushing it away from him, and I was thrilled and proud that he had accomplished that. And I always use him as an example for my other clients, and I say, oh, I had this client who learned how to ice skate as an adult after his amputation surgery.
I'm not sure what the end game for this is. Right? Like, it's small, yes, it's getting better, but it's like, when does it get to the point where it's healed?
Well, and that's
it's not going to
part
open, right?
is you were trying to walk on a leg that's still compromised.
Yes.
Which is a challenge.
So I wonder if there's something that we haven't tried.
The reason why I stopped skating, or I came to an abrupt halt, was because of the issues that I'm currently having with my leg right now.
So specifically, he has an ulcer that has kind of created a small little hole on the dorsum of his foot, and he's got sensitive skin, and he has insensitivity. So if he's getting excessive forces, he can't really feel it. Then he developed an infection. So those things all combined to kind of this perfect little storm.
I would say that this is not a typical case. There's been a lot of issues for Rayhan in having his wound heal effectively, which has taken quite a bit longer than what I typically see with my clients.
I mean, the past year I tried my best to kind of work through it and grind it out. And the negative consequence to that is I was forced to make that decision now and just not be able to go to school.
So his circumstances are different, and I think we have full confidence that he's going to be able to finish school.
I have 1 more year left at Ryerson, 2 semesters to complete my sports media degree.
What's important is that he does it at the pace that is best for him.
I haven't walked properly without the help of any crutches or canes for a good while, so just being able to walk again, finding that confidence, the feel for my leg will definitely be a big part.
He really does never quit. He will come here in pain, he will come here when his skin is a mess, and he has never ever given up.
He's proven that he has the resiliency and he has the strength to be able to deal with it up to this point. And I think no matter what is thrown at him, I think he has the tools to be able to triumph over it.
It's been a long process, and once that's able to be done, I will probably be going back on the skates and continuing that. It's definitely not over.
Grace was a figure skater back in the day. I remember her first time being interested in hockey. We were watching it, and it wasn't soon after that she had had enough with the picks on her skates, and she said, "Dad, I want to play hockey."
So Greg and Andre and Mackenzie and Grace came out one day, and it was the first time that Grace ever put on the equipment. We got on the backyard rink. Grace would fall, and Grace would get back up, and she would fall. But with the biggest smile and the most determination, she just got back up.
Me and Grace became friends because of our family. We're really close, and we ate our first corn on the cob together. Like, we've known each other since we were babies.
Her attitude towards the game and her drive to make her parents proud and to be the best hockey player she could be was second to none.
Grace always wanted to get better. She was always asking what she could do, so we simply just signed her up for a power skating session in Cobourg. She came over to the bench as I was heading to work that morning with, she was in discomfort, and she said, "Dad, I can't go anymore. I can't do anymore." Sitting at our kitchen table here, she reached underneath the table, and I'll never forget it. She said, "Dad, my knee really hurts." I knew by week 4, after our first 2 visits to the doctor, that there was something wrong. A broken leg heals in 6 weeks. You're back on the ice in 8 to 9 weeks, and we got to the 10-week stage where I couldn't stop crying.
We couldn't imagine what the Bowens were going through on a daily basis, and as friends, and Macy and Grace's relationship, we just tried to do everything that we could.
Andre had taken Grace to Peterborough to a pediatrician, and he had previously diagnosed someone with the same condition, and he knew right away. I got in my truck, and I was anxiously waiting for a positive phone call, and Andre had mentioned, "You need to hand your keys to your partner. We got to be at Sick Kids tomorrow."
When I met Grace, she was very engaged in what I had to say. And she took it in, and she asked some questions, or parents asked some questions. We talked about it for a while.
I remember me asking, what are you going to do? And explain the procedure to, my head almost fell off. And I was so naive and so shocked, I asked if he could use my ankle.
We talked together about how to approach Grace, about what her options are. She chose rotation plasty so that she would have a better option of getting on the ice again.
She decided very clearly and very rapidly that she preferred to be able to play hockey, run, jump, you know, without restriction.
There's so many raw, emotional moments at the hospital that you go through, and
Andre was the rock at the hospital. I was a mess.
and even Grace's besties, they would come with us and for treatment on Monday mornings or whenever. They witnessed a lot at 9 and 10 years old too.
When we were bored and we were just in our room and we didn't have anything to do, we made crafts and things like that, and it was kind of like a time we can think about making crafts instead of her being sick.
When Grace was diagnosed, it was that team, the team of girls that really had her back. They started the fight with Grace, they continued all the way through, even after Grace's passing. We continue to fight, they continue to fight. We represent Grace on a daily basis every time we step on the ice.
Thank God for our hockey community at all levels. The local hockey family is obviously still truly family. You cannot go through this alone. You can't go through it with just your family. You need the support. You need to hear people say her name.
No, one day at a time, one breath at a time. And as of right now, it's going to be one cancer cell at a time until we beat this thing for Grace.
2.5 years after Grace left this family and her community, that we're still doing this to raise awareness, raise funds, talk about her fight and her journey. That's powerful.
And I think that sarcoma messed with the wrong girl.
Our forever term goal is that no other family has to ever go through this ever again, period. So we're not gonna quit, and we don't plan on quitting.